Hello.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Anybody here? Are we shouting into the void? To be honest, I always feel like that because you can't really, see who you're talking to except for you guys, obviously. But it's just, I don't know. To me, it feels like you're just shouting into the void, hoping to hear someone call back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The internet. You
Yeah.
never know.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking about the Days of Blood and Starlight.
I really prefer
Yeah.
my covers.
I like those.
They're both really nice, to be fair.
Mhm.
But these are
Yeah.
fluffy. They're awesome.
I know.
Yes.
I mean,
This one is stiff.
Like- not even the hardback. Even the hardback is stiff. I mean,
Yeah. But they're
Yeah.
nice. Have you seen the size of the third one?
yep.
I know, but this one went by so quickly. And I thought it was I think it's a bit thicker than the first one. So I'm
Mhm.
Yeah.
ready.
First one's like 400 pages, the second one 500, and then the third one's like 600 ish.
God.
I mean, I don't know exact
Yeah.
I'm
page
ready.
numbers, but
We shall see.
Yes. So, Sasha, did you want to discuss how you felt about the last book?
Okay, so the first one, I wasn't there for the lifetime. Last time, sorry, I was napping just before this. And I actually really loved the first half of the book. I was like mesmerized by the whole world building and Karu and the teeth and what she was going like and her friends and like the fact that she was in Prague and everything. And then the second half of it completely lost me. Like
no.
I didn't feel involved in that romance kind of thing. I loved like the different point of views we were getting, and moving time back and forward, etc., etc. But the second half wasn't like working for me, so I gave it 3 stars. So it was like between 2 and 3, so I went for 3 because I really enjoyed the first part. It's just that the second part, like I didn't want that in the book.
I mean,
So
that's
yeah, but
fair.
Hmm?
I mean, that's fair because I think that's like a lot of people's problems with the book. I think for a lot of people, it's not necessarily that they find it bad, but that's just it wasn't really for them. It wasn't what they wanted, basically.
Yeah. But it was beautifully written. Like I really recognized. I don't know if I'm the only weirdo, but when they said that Karu had blue hair, and then I was like, okay, and in Strange Dreamer they have blue skin. Is that? I was
Yeah,
like, never mind.
Lainey loves the color blue. Lainey loves the color blue.
Probably.
So,
Yeah.
and especially for Strange, like I remember seeing an interview, like, well, we couldn't really do green skin because that's immediately like alien and everything, and it's just that's also why they settled on blue.
But I love blue. I mean, it goes with the
Yeah.
story. I mean, blue hair. I mean, it's awesome. I love it. So, yeah. So that's how I felt about the book. Not bad, really good book, but I don't like romance in general. So I was expecting something like fantasy, like, but focusing on that and not focusing on that relationship. But it was interesting. It was well done. So I have to give it that.
I think that's really interesting because I think for me, I actually prefer the second half, and I love that when they break the wishbone and they start like having those flashbacks, and it's like blah blah blah. It's just so disorienting, but like I think it's really well done. So I guess it's just what you prefer, and it's like I get you a little bit because when first time I read it, I was like, why are they in love with each other so quickly? So it's just a bit like okay, and it's nice to learn about the world, but you're still confused in the beginning, but they kind of explain it at the end. So yeah.
I personally love that too, how you just like the farther you get in the book, the more it makes sense and everything just, all the puzzle pieces start falling into place. That's just what I really love, especially also with how they did the flashbacks. and everything, and then you're like, oh, so that's what they're using the teeth for, those kinds of things. But like, obviously, I mean, I can see that if it's not for you, I mean, also with Lainey's writing style, I mean, it's such a specific taste, I suppose, that, I mean, I can definitely see that people won't like it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a major shift, like especially like in the first book, from contemporary to full out fantasy, and I feel like that can be like really disorienting though, because like you walk into it expecting like like to get this consistency throughout the entire series, and you don't get that.
No.
Yeah, definitely mood shifts even more in the second book, but I guess we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the rest
So-
of us, let's say just like couple what we thought and gave it in terms of stars.
The first book or the second one?
First one, let's do maybe.
Right, yeah, sure. Yeah, just for clarity's sake.
Yeah, so I read it for the second time, so it was a reread, and I still really, really liked it. I think it was more like 4.5, but I still really, really enjoyed it just as much as I remembered.
Yeah, same for me. I also reread it. I don't know how many times at this point. I mean, I think it's been like 5, but I'm not sure. But I still really love it. I did read it more critically this time, so I still gave it 5 stars, but like I can say like it's like 4.5. I can definitely some things that like if I'd read the book now, I don't think I would have loved it as much as I do now because I already read it and I still just have that nostalgia going on. So, but it's still 5 stars.
If I remember right, I gave it a 4.5 stars because it took me like a little bit to get into, but once I was into it, like it was good. It was really good.
All right. What did we think about the second one?
I'm kind of nervous for Sasha's reaction, to be honest.
I mean, like, do I give like the rating or just
I
how
mean, I
yeah?
think more just rating and maybe just a little on why for now, and then we can expand.
So I read over 200 pages today, because I really had a hard time reading that book. I like it was worse than how I felt during the second half of the first book. So I gave it 2 stars. Yeah. Still beautiful. I just find it the world building and everything. We're gonna talk about it, and characters. They all like they have their purpose. It's just not calling to me. Like, but yeah. Who wants
Right.
to go next?
I can go next. So I remember nothing anyway, so it was just like I was reading it for the first time. And I don't know. So you know how we started during the sprints, and then I took a break because I had other books to read. And then like 2 days ago, I started panicking. I was like, shit, I have like basically all of the book left. I'm not gonna finish it. There's no way in hell. And then I just sat down and read all of it. Like I was so into it. And I think funny thing with this book is like I was reading it, I was thinking like nothing's really happening, is there? But I love it. Like just because I love the characters, I love the world, and I love everything they're doing. So I was into it. But at the same time, like nothing really happens that much until the last bit when you think about it. And but I still, yeah, I really, really liked it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 on Goodreads, maybe. I just think, yeah, it was interesting because in the new edition, there's the author's note, and she was just like talking about how, at least in mine, there is, and she was talking about how when she wrote the first book, she she was like, oh, awesome, the second book's gonna be all romantic in Prague and beautiful and magical, and then realized she wrote herself like into misery, basically. Like you really gotta work to get to the happy place. So this book was like a really miserable book. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. So yeah, I still really liked it.
So I enjoyed this book. I can honestly say like though I did not enjoy it as much as I enjoyed the first one. not because of the tone shift, but it was more like I know setup books are necessary, and I feel like that this whole book was a setup for the last one. But I always struggle like with setup books, so I feel like to me like I feel like I gave like this about a 3.5 to a 4 stars. Mainly because it was just I don't know, there was just like a lot of like there was a lot of setup, and I felt like there was some action. I like how they approached it, but like I think like I said, I feel like this is really like set up for the last one.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably come as no surprise, but I loved it. I mean, yeah, I think honestly this is my favorite book in the series. Because of its like bleakness, and that's so horrible of me to say, but I just love just a little bit going ahead, but I just love Karu's emotions. Like, basically, it sounds so wrong to say I love how depressed she was, but I just, yeah, I just love that emotion and how much feeling that evoked in me personally. I mean, I totally get the criticism. I mean, no, not a lot happens at all, and yes, it is basically all set up. But I also love, because that's something I noticed now. I think the tone of the first book is like really whimsical, and that reflects basically Karu's knowledge, because she doesn't know anything about Irats and what Brimstone is doing. And in this one, she does, and she knows that Brimstone is dead. And I think this book really reflects her state of mind, the same as the first one, basically. So I just noticed that this time around, even though I read these like tons of times already, but I just think that for me that just added so much depth to it. But yeah, like I said, I mean, this is my favorite book out of the series. So I loved it.
Yeah.
Gave it 5 stars.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. I don't know if we want to jump into like sections, but it's just like how like Karu, this way, like it's all about Karu, right? But like how she's working through stuff in this book, because she has to deal with so much guilt and so much pressure, and how she is just so defeated in the beginning that she goes along with Tiago, whatever he's doing. She's like, oh, I shouldn't ask any questions, I should just follow along, even though she knows he's like a scumbag. And yeah, it's just all this guilt, and then you slowly see her kind of come back to who she was, very slowly. And like I agree, it's really like sad, because it's just like bad thing after bad thing after bad thing, and you're just like there. But it's at the same time really understandable why she feels this way. I think that's why it resonated, at least with me. Just because like, yeah, I'd feel guilty too, because her whole race basically got eradicated, and it wasn't directly her fault, but she feels like it is. And now she's the only one responsible for resurrecting all of them, and she has to work with people that she doesn't trust or like, but they're the only things that's left. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like the first time I read it, was just like impressed by how dark Laini Taylor was willing to take it, because so it's a YA book, and there's just like characters dying left and right, and just like just get grimmer and grimmer and grimmer, especially like with the tithing. I don't know how you say, you know, like the pain. That go really dark and grim, and it's just like, damn, this is amazing.
And I also really loved how basically her friends returning to Karu also, like, wow, I can't English today. I'm so sorry, guys.
Came back, you mean?
No, how that like,
accepted everything.
no, how the people that came back to her also showed her character growth. Like, Mick and Susanna came, and then she got a little bit more to how she was, and then Issa came back, and she got a little bit like more still like how she was. It's just like, I can't think of the word. Like, illustrates, perhaps? Nah, it's not illustrates. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys.
I know what you mean. It's like, well, her getting over her grief and her guilt was because she was relying on the other people. So she was there with like Issa and Susanna and all of that. So she was like becoming more herself through it. So I know what you mean. I don't know the exact word.
Because I had the same thing with while I was talking with Kira beforehand. I couldn't even think of independent, like the word independent. So it's just, I'm so sorry.
Late. Also, hi, Han.
Hello.
Thank you for coming. It was also her first time reading the books, so I'm interested in the opinion right there.
Ooh, yes.
Please put it in the comments. Want to know? I on purpose didn't ask, so I could find out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do we want to do this? Do we want to take like characters, war? Do you have anything in particular you wanted to talk about? It's like so much, but I don't know what to
I
start.
know there's
Yeah.
a lot to this one.
Yeah. Because nothing really happened, we had the opportunity to focus on every single character and every single emotion and guilt and everything, as you said. But I don't know, even me, I don't know where I would start.
Oh, okay. How about like the shock of like her being with Fago at the very beginning of this? Like that, like I was so surprised because I'm just like, wait a second, like is he actually like a nice guy or is like what is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, he does fool you a little bit because he seems to like not be that bad, and like there's so little of them, so you want to trust him, but then like
Yeah.
I'm like, I think on that. Sorry.
Honestly, I watched the entire Shadow and Bone series just a little while ago, and then I read this book, and there's just so many little like those manipulative things that the
Oh.
Darkling showed in the show that I'm seeing here now, and I was like, what? I can see it now. Like I knew he wasn't the best, but it just I think if you know it shows really well. But at the same time, if you don't know it, you won't spot it.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how, like, well, first of all, he used all the lying. He was like talking one thing to Karoo and one thing to everyone else, and he then told them that Karoo was the one that told Akiva about the resurrection, but like it wasn't. So yeah, it was just really interesting. I think just in general, like with the beginning, it was really interesting how late Karoo came into it. Like it was many chapters in, and we first hear from like Susanna and then Akiva and like looking for her, and then Akiva thinks she's dead. I mean, obviously we know she's not dead, but like he thinks she's dead, and it's interesting that we didn't like jump straight into her, but we like build up to it, and I think that was super interesting.
Yeah, because you're like the mystery's building. Like, where is she? What happened? What is she doing?
To Hannah's comment, how he was really calm, I think that's his brand of manipulation, because he's not like the outrageously like raging maniac. He's so calm, and he even used it to be like, oh yeah, you have a point, we should do that, when he was feeling like he was losing control. So he didn't want people to feel like they need to choose. So he was just like so it's like very, very subtly manipulative and very subtly like he was keeping everything under. And I think that's like a more maybe not more powerful, but like is a different kind of manipulation and emotional abuse, and it's very, very clever to like do that instead of be like a raging person, because then everyone knows there's something off about you.
Yeah, because I think you also kind of start feeling for him at some points. Like it's written in such a way that you're like, oh well, he is the last one, and yeah, he is burdened with taking over the warlord's task essentially. But then you're like, yeah, well, actually, you're kind of an asshole. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know. Like at the beginning, I'm just like, well, he's always been kind of a jerk, but like then it seemed like I started getting like a little bit more hope from him. So like, wow, he's being really nice to her, and I'm just like, what's going on? And then yeah, he let me down.
yeah.
He let me down.
I had no hope for him. I don't know. As you said, like the fact that he was calm showed that he had control over everything. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was interesting as well how the henchman or whatever you want to call her, yeah, how she like came in to help, and then like I don't remember if this was the first time I read it, if I also picked up on it, but this time when I was reading, and Ted was like, oh, why don't we resurrect you, Karoo, into your proper body? You just need to show me how to do it. I was like, red alarm, she's gonna murder you and like leave you to like Evanescence or whatever it's called. So I was just like, no. And like Karoo caught up on it like way later, and it was just like, oh my god, no. But to be fair, I feel like Ted, I never like liked her or had any, because she was so outwardly like hostile, I guess. So it's different type from Tiago, because Ten like wasn't very likable and there was nothing too much to her. So I was like, yeah, I don't trust you. No.
Yeah, because she's presented from the beginning as his henchman,
Mhm.
and she's never really presented as anything else. I mean, I think if Lainey went away and had her try to be friends with Karoo, I think it would have been different. But like the way it's written now, she was only ever, you know, Thiago's henchman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never liked her. She was like very like kind of sneaky.
Mhm.
I always felt like she was spying, which is like why which is like why they had to take like her protection like from her door away, so that she couldn't even lock herself in and have like any kind of privacy. They wanted to be able to come and go as they pleased, and to me like that was a huge violation. Like that was not okay with that.
Yeah, I felt the same. Felt the same. I never liked her. She was a spy. She was telling everyone
Mhm.
what was happening
Mhm.
inside, and yeah,
Yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
exactly because she was never presented as anything else.
yeah. But to be honest, the fact that it was that obvious, I was like, okay, maybe there is something going on, because like on one hand you have the super calm guy who he's manipulative, and then you have this super obvious person, and you're just like, something might happen. But
Right.
yeah.
Mm. I think it's really interesting what you said about the doors. Like, yeah, it felt so like I was so pissed. I was like, why are you taking this away? And it was just like every time Karu tried to like have some control, get back some control, and like state herself, they just like take something away, and it just became so much more obvious as time went on that she was a prisoner. But at first it kind of felt like, oh, this partnership we have, and it's like all friendly. I mean, and no one else liked her, but Tiago was saying that he's working on them or whatever. And then like then they took away the bolt, they got so angry when Mick put the wood behind the door so they couldn't open. It's just like constantly something. I felt like I was feeling a little bit claustrophobic right there with Karu, because I was just like, why are you taking away all of her independence and like any kind of safety?
Mhm.
Yeah, and her name meaning hope. There was no hope. Never for her. Like, it was just getting darker and darker, and like, I don't know. I felt for her, to
Mm,
be honest, for that. Like, I was like, give her a little hope, a little something. But yeah, quite the
yeah.
opposite.
Yeah, I think you're very right. And like I think at first she thought Ziri would be like that help and hope. And then it just something kept happening to like move him away and take that away. So like Susanna coming was like, I feel like she was at the breaking point, and it could have been
Mm.
like either way, but because they came, she was like, okay, I need to be a bit more assertive because I don't want my friends to die, so I need to make sure they're okay. And that was really interesting. Again, I was reading, there's like a bonus chapter, and she was talking about how she really wanted Susanna and Mick there, but the author was talking about how she really wanted Susanna and Mick because they like really lifted the spirits. Otherwise, it'd just be so grim that I don't even want to
Mhm.
talk. And at first she was having Carew send them on a scavenger hunt around Prague, and that's how they were gonna get to the Kabash, or how, I don't know how you say it. And I was like, oh my god, that's so goofy. I'm glad she didn't do that, because I feel like Karu is not in a space of mind to be like, let me do a little like scavenger hunt. She's like really not having it, and she would never bring them there on purpose. So I think
No.
that was very interesting. But
But that's
that's
on her. Like, that was out of the blue. I mean, no,
what was
that Susanna and Mick found her.
they called her or
When was
found
it?
her. I
Yeah,
heard
found her.
called her.
Called. No, no, no.
Sorry.
Her phone died.
Yeah, I don't think they called her. Oh yeah,
No.
they had found her. It was a little bit like, so in all of Marrakesh, you managed to find this one very isolated place.
Yeah, it was very weird, but I loved them actually. They were just like, I don't know, they helped Karu, I feel. Just as we said at the beginning, feel herself, etc., feeling a bit better, and maybe giving her that little hope, even if being there meant danger to them. But also like they felt like, I don't know, they were like, oh, okay, so you resurrecting people, you doing, oh, that's fun. Like they were not realizing that they were in the middle of a war, and I was just
Mm,
laughing. But they were good. I love Susanna. I really loved the way she was acting. Everything was like so simple or whatever, but at the same time, I was like, okay, you're a bit stupid.
yeah. I think they definitely don't realize like the magnitude of it until they see
Mm,
like Karu's bruises and what it does, because she's like, oh, I want to be a
yeah,
resurrectionist too, and then it's like, it's not really fun in games, is it? And like they don't really understand like what the
no,
war means and all that. So it did feel a bit like you're a bit too chill with this, just a little bit.
yeah.
But I did almost cry at the scene where like, Ziri comes back and he's like mutilated and Karu has to like help him, and and that's Susanna and Meek were there like at 5 minutes at that point, and she was like, Susanna, do you think you can help me? And Susanna was just like, yeah, of course, and she just went into action, and I almost cried because I was just like, Jesus Christ, that's a good friend right there, because like you're
Mm,
thrust into this thing you don't know anything about, and it was just like always there for Karu, and I thought that was beautiful.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
And I'm so happy that they're gone to rats with everyone and they weren't left behind. I was like, yeah,
Mm.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, they were cute.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the new characters? Because Hanan said the new characters introduced were so interesting. So maybe that's our next talking point.
Yes. I loved, so it was kind of interesting because we got like a really good like glimpse of Cairo's world like throughout some of like the first book, and in the second book we really expanded on Akiva's world, which I thought was really fun.
Mm.
Mm. Definitely. I think just learning more, because in the first book we just hear, oh, misbegotten, or whatever you say. They're like the lowest tier of the warrior or whatever. But like in this book they really get into it, how they basically have no rights, they can't do anything, they literally just like walking weapons, and like the Emperor gives literally nothing, like he does not care about them at all, and how disrespected they are. And you're right, you like definitely got more into this world, because in the first one we barely even hear about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had two main characters, miserable. Both. Both story were super dark. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like the biggest point of light for me in this book was Hazael, and I'm still not over the fact that he died. I'm still not over it. I always cry so much. It's just very uncool. It's not cool.
I know. Oh,
but
and
at
when
the same
Akiva
time,
like,
it's good that someone nice died. I mean, usually I
yeah.
love that in books because it makes it even more like realistic, let's say, as much as a fantasy can be. But
But why
maybe not him.
Hazael? I'm just
Yeah.
Yeah, I admire she's not scared to kill off like important or like likable characters, because normally like the authors like clutch all the good characters and they like
Mm,
kill off some
give me 1 second.
disposable ones. No worries.
mm,
So I'm impressed she's willing to do that. But it was so sad. And when they brought her to Karu, and she was like willing to resurrect him, but they didn't realize that they needed to like preserve the soul. I was just, and I remembered that they didn't preserve the soul, because I remember he didn't like get back to life. So I was just like, this is so sad. I can't.
Yeah, the fact that they dragged his body all the way there, and then that not being the point, like they basically can't use his body, but like, oh no.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if they actually like didn't take the body at all but took the soul, they would have been completely fine. But like they
Yeah.
didn't realize that, because she didn't really tell them the details.
but
I mean,
they
talk about
didn't know how to
Mm.
do that,
Yeah,
right?
true. No,
no.
they didn't. They didn't even know that they had to do it, I don't think.
No, no.
Yeah, it was so sad. And like, I would definitely. Sorry, is it Lazar or something like that? The sister's name.
Miraz.
Lyra's. We definitely get more of her, and it was interesting to hear how she felt about Karu and how she felt about her brothers and being like super protective about him, because like they're supposed to never have a family. So her having the two brothers, that was basically like her whole family was going to be. And then Hazel was so important to her, because he was like this bright light in their very bleak lives. It's just so sad, and her reaction, how she was so angry, but it was understandable, because she was like, is your brother, and he just died in your arms, protecting you. Basically, it's so sad.
Yeah. I'm still not over it. I don't think I'll ever be over it.
Yeah. I remember reading, I was like, why couldn't she die? I like him so much more. I think that's part of the point.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, also because of her story arc, like from what I remember in the third one as well. Because she has some important stuff to do, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, I mean, forever sad. Hashtag heartbroken.
R.I.P.
We met
Okay,
like a lot
so-
of. I
Sorry?
feel like we met like a lot of very like twisted characters too. Like the one like that Akiva called father, and his son. Both of his sons, like they were son and nephew, I believe, right? It wasn't like one of them supposed to be like a nephew, but like they were really terrible human beings.
Yeah, I mean, Joram was his father, and I think Jael was Joram's brother.
Yeah.
What's the other one called? That one was his son, but he had like...
He was really useless, to be fair. He was like a coward or whatever.
Yeah, he didn't have any particular role to play except to die.
Mhm.
Essentially, that was his part, but...
I really forgot how big, well, not in this book, but next book, the Stallions, I forgot how big of a role they had, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be like pretty
Yeah,
significant.
it's a big one. Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, I'm not going to say what, but it's a big one. 'Cause
yeah.
that I do remember.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting, like how even from the first book, like someone just like, the father made a remark about Akiva's mother, like, oh, shame what happened to her. And it's just so like we get to see it and it's all like connecting with each other.
Mhm.
Well.
Yeah. Okay, so what other new characters do we have? I mean, we have Zuri.
Ziri. I love him so
Ziri.
much.
Yeah, I think he's so cute. I don't know. I mean, I probably shouldn't call him cute because he could, probably kill me in 2 seconds flat, but I don't know, he just comes across as so cute.
And
Yeah, I think
innocent.
he feels like a young kid because he has so many memories of being a young kid in love with
Yeah.
Karoo. And I liked seeing like all the events of the first book from his perspective. Like when he was like recounting, oh, he was at the ball and he was there for her execution and he was trying to do something, but like we don't know any of that. And now we know from his perspective and just how much he loves Karoo. And it's so heartbreaking at the end. Like that he has to be in Tiago's body, and it's just like Karoo's like kind of repulsed by him, like understandably, and it's just like such a sacrifice to make. I was just like, my goodness, you're too pure for this world. I was so sad about his real body being like discarded because he was like the last of Kirin. It was just so sad.
Yeah.
He broke my heart.
I think there was a lot of heartbreak in this book, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it was like, oh, nothing happened. And then towards the end, it was like one after another. And it was just like twisty-turny. And I think it's really interesting also how Laini Taylor wrote this book because it's like, we leave when Karoo's like on her knees next to Tiago's dead body and she hears the wings. And then we go like into the future and like they've already done the resurrection, but we don't know what's happening. So like we see the wolf and we're like, the hell, why is he back? And it was just like, I like that it's not linear, but it's like kind of jumping around and you're finding out things out of order, so you get to be surprised. Just like Akiva was like disgusted that she'd be like standing next to the wolf, and we're also disgusted because we're like, piece of shit, like we don't want to do, like we don't like him and we don't want him. So yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like, what the F you doing, girl? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I liked how like they presented that though, because like at the beginning you're like, oh my god, like I thought she killed him, and he's still standing there, and it's like what made her decide to bring him back? Like did she cave? Like was she worried about like the consequences? And then we get further into it and then we realize like that's not what happened at all. I love how like they kind of like led us astray like really quick before like they said, oh wait, hold up, it's exactly what you think it is, but not quite.
Yeah. I because I remembered about Tiago as we got to it, but I didn't remember 10, and I was like, oh no, we're gonna have to pretend in front of her every time. But then they were like, nah, she's dead too. I was like, yeah, good. Yeah, so all the like awful characters from Karu's side are almost dead, so I feel like we're good. We're just gonna pretend for a bit. But yeah, oh my god, when like Joel, I think it's the uncle, he found there's good, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be trouble. And then I kind of completely forgot about him because they didn't mention it for the whole book. I was like completely forgot. And then when Akiva got that invitation, I was like, oh wait, shit. It's something that was good said. God damn. And they didn't even think about the guns, but I like how it was set up in the beginning because Karu was like thinking, should I tell them about the guns? And she was like, I really don't want to tell them about the guns. And I like that how that kind of paid off later on.
Yeah, I love how when he finds when Jal finds Razgood, you just go like, uh-oh. Because that was just basically me like, well, we all know this isn't going to end well because nothing with Razgood is going to end well.
Yeah.
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 People agree.
I thought it was really interesting how his flight sort of wore off so quickly, but Karu still has hers. I don't know if she gave him like a weaker wish or what, but it wore off so quickly.
Maybe because he was like cursed to be flightless.
Maybe.
I mean, that's speculation. I don't really have any textual evidence for that, but because I was wondering about that too. But yeah, I mean, it's either Karu used a stronger wish, or like I think there's some kind of magic that just prevents him from flying, at least for a long time. I think it's either that, but I think they also said that she needed like 2 Gavriels. She needed 2 for that, 1 for her and 1 for him. So I think she gave him the same wish, but yeah, not really sure. This is just me speculating.
You might be right. I don't know. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she gave the wish a time limit.
Yeah, if she wished it for him, that could be possible. That's a good one, actually. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting idea, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I guess because for her to give it to him would be a bit like he can do whatever he wants with that. Okay.
Yeah.
So how bummed were you guys when you realized that Brimstone's actually dead?
Oh, I was so sad.
I know.
I was so sad.
I remember the first time I was reading, I thought it was Brimstone in that. Although it's like, now that I was reading, it's kind of nothing, but I was so filled with hope. I was like, it's Brimstone. It's Brimstone. It's Brimstone, not Turbile or whatever. And then it's not. And I feel like the first time I felt exactly how Karu felt, like happy because it's Isa and she's cool too, but she's not Brimstone. And I'm really bummed about that. So it was really like roller coaster.
I never thought it was him, to be honest, because as you said at the beginning, there was never hope for her. So I was like, okay, who's that going to be? Is it going to be like at least a friend or an enemy? I wasn't even sure. So, but I knew it wasn't him. Yeah.
Yeah, I think now I was a bit less like blinded by hope. I realized that, well, it's very unlikely to be him because like Akiva actually saw him like get murdered and then they burned the ashes, whatever. But I was like so hopeful.
Yeah, and then you get punched in the feels again when it isn't him.
Yes, at times.
But I love that, like, she was happy. It was still someone she knew she wanted, but she felt guilty because she would have wanted to be Brimstone. And it's all about that. And it's so human, I feel like, to be happy, but guilty because you're happy, or guilty because you're not that happy. You are still hoping or wishing for something else to happen. And I love that. It made Karu so human. So
I agree. I think she's so well written in terms of like she feels like a real person that really went through stuff. Because sometimes in fantasy, it feels like people go through the like most awful things happen to them, they'll be like stabbed for like a little bit, for half a book maybe, and then they'll get over it. And here it's like you can see how broken she is, and it's just like, yeah, everything she feels, like I feel like I'm feeling that as a reader, just because like it's so relatable and like true. That's why I liked what the author said about like having to really earn a happy ending, if there even is going to be one. Like you really have to work for it hard, and I think this book was really like working for it.
Yeah, and like that what you said there is exactly why this is my favorite book, because like it just you feel what she feels, and it's just she's so human in her emotions, in her depression, in her hope, in her in all of that. And I just I just love it so much for that. And also in her character growth, in that, you know, she realizes, well, it's okay for me to want things as well, and for me to say, well, no, like I'm not going to do that for whatever reason.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's so many just heartbreaking moments. One that comes to mind is, you know, when we find out that like a big part of Chimera is actually in that top tomb. But then they hit you with, oh, but not everyone could go, because then they'd be way too suspicious. So like some people volunteered to stay, and it's just like, holy crap. It's like the decisions these characters have to make about whether I'm gonna maybe save myself, or by sacrificing myself save my race. It was just like, no, it's just so heartbreaking to have to make that decision. And it's just like, yeah, the old people stayed, and like the children of course went to the tomb. And even the tomb is like, they went, but they're not sure if they're ever going to wake up. So this could be death, like just in a tomb, which is depressing itself. It's just like, hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know part of me like is still kind of like hoping like that Brimstone maybe got put in the cathedral, but like I don't think I'm going to be that lucky.
No, because it's also what they said at one point. Like they were never going to be satisfied if they didn't find Brimstone, because they knew he was the resurrectionist. So if they didn't find him, they would have turned over every stone in order to find him. So
Yeah.
I think for me, that particular bit was like, okay, yeah, no, he's dead. He's not coming back. This is it. I think that convinced me, because up until that point, I was like, but maybe he's hidden somewhere, you know, like Issa was. But then I was like, yeah, no, they have a point, because if they didn't find him, because it basically had always been the warlord and Brimstone against, well, the Seraphim. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually, that really like made me like the warlord more. I mean, obviously we don't know that much about him anyway, but just how he was like ready to go die with Brimstone without even being like, yeah, maybe we can save ourselves. He was just like, yep, we need to go, or everyone else is dead as well. So I was like, wow, he definitely has more guts than Tiago, because I don't think he'd do that for anyone. So yeah.
And he'll never have the chance.
No.
I really hope they got rid of his soul. Like, don't save it up somewhere. Just let it go.
Well,
into the
what I'm really concerned about though is because like Karo's soul figured out like a way like to kind of like, you know, survive for like a little while after her body was gone. And I'm kind of like, this is too good to be true. Like there's got to be a catch.
Yeah. I don't remember, so I'm not
Same.
saying anything. But I feel like Peru, because she knew magic, she could do it, because she like been a magician or whatever. Like at least a little bit, she knew how it worked. But if anyone has the will, I feel like it'd be Tiago clinging to life. So I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah, and I also
concerning.
think it was because like when Madrigal or Carew died in the first book, the I don't remember what her name was, but her
The sister.
sister person thing, she came to make sure that she evanesced, but then she didn't, because her soul was weak, and Madrigal / Carew was able to basically infiltrate that body, so there was a destination. But I don't think, if there's not a destination, the soul can hold on for very long.
That's a good point.
So if there's, I mean, not like a willing body or a weak willed body around, or a thurible where with like incense. I don't think the spirit has anywhere to go but up, basically. At least that's what I imagine.
Yeah, I think you make a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is not really on paper. This is just me.
But that's good. That's good that not everything is explained. I mean,
No, true.
or in the first, or in the second book, or maybe even not in the third book. And
Nope.
so you
It's
can
not.
imagine things and make your own truth or rules or whatever.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, it leaves something to wonder. If not
Mhm.
every single question is answered, it just leaves some openings.
Yeah.
I was also so fascinated by the shadows that live. Like, what are they called? Bashis and Tangris, I think.
Something like
I
that.
think that's their names.
I
just
love the scene where they just hang out with Susanna and like play chicken, whatever. I know that's so cheap. I love this. Just made them from this like super scary, formidable force to like.
Yeah, but I also like just like that dynamic that when Mick and Susanna came, that they also made the Chimera just a little bit more human. That they gave those Chimera more personality.
Definitely. Yeah, it was really interesting to see like they don't like hate on them, but they don't like Karoo for obvious reasons. But like Mick and Susanna never really did anything to them. And it was really fun to see also how Mick and Susanna can be very, very charismatic in a sense that they don't really need a language. They can just like, brave it without it and kind of try to make it work. And it was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad she managed to save their souls. I'm not really sure. I think they come back in the next one, but that's just one of those things I don't really remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Yeah, I was really wondering about those 3 people that Tiago killed. I guess because it was like a little bit of time when they struggled and stuff and from when they died. So it's a bit unsure how quickly the souls go.
I think it's said somewhere that it depends on the soul and how strong the connection to their body is. So I think maybe like if it was Ziri because it was still his natural body, I think it would have taken longer. But if it wasn't like a natural body, and depending on like how strong the soul was, how strong like the soul's will to hold on was, it just varies. I don't think there's like a set time limit. But I don't think there's a lot of time between when Tiago kills them and when Karoo kills Tiago, essentially, and puts Ziri in his body, and then all that.
Yeah, hopefully they're back.
I think they are, but again, I'm not sure.
I don't know. We'll see next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to know, come back next month.
Is there any other character that was new and you guys wanted to talk about?
There were so many. I cannot even remember all the names, honestly. Yeah.
Well, I guess the Chimera are new characters.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the most important ones. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super curious to see how it's going in the next book because now they're like have this makeshift army of angels and Chimera. So it's like, but they're like obviously not getting along and stuff. So I think that's gonna be really interesting.
Yeah. Also, just another scene I just remembered that just made my heart break just a little bit was when I think it was like Amzalag when he thanked Karoo for his body. I was just like, I could just feel my heart just go like, just.
Yeah, just how touched she was because no one thanks her before.
Yeah, it's such a thankless job that I suppose everyone there takes for granted, but it's not really something to be taken for granted because if she's gone, no one's going to do it because no one knows how to do it.
Well, now I guess maybe Isa could do it because she's been with Brimstone even longer.
Yeah, now. But
yeah, but before, I
at
understand.
that point when Isa wasn't there yet.
Yeah, true.
Okay, so is there anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Hmm. There is maybe something I missed because I read it so fast. But at the end, you have like Aquila saying that he has to burn down all the portals, like all the doors, etc., because the other guy wants to go to the human world, and and I was like, they didn't know before about the doors. Like, I feel like I missed something. Why they didn't want to go before? He was like, "Yeah, we can go and visit the humans," and I'm just like, I don't know.
So I think the portals were like lost for a very long time and they didn't know where they were. So
Yeah.
Akira found one of the portals, but he only found it like after Karu's death. And I don't know how soon he told everyone. Or maybe he
Yeah.
didn't because he only told his brother and sister to go down to Earth with him to burn the portals. So not sure
Yeah.
if
Akiva found like that first portal. I think it was over Uzbekistan. He found that
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
Madrigal had died. And then the second one, Karu found through Razgud because Razgud remembered
Mhm.
that it was about like the Atlas Mountains in, I think the Atlas Mountains are in Morocco. But those portals were basically lost up until like maybe a few years ago, and up until that point, Joram had no desire to go into the human world. But the problem is that Joram is dead, and Jael does have like the desire to go to the human world and to be revered as gods.
well, and
So
he didn't know that before was good that they would be revered first of all, and then he didn't know about the guns either. So it was like just a random world, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But now Jael has realized, like, oh well, there's a lot to be gained in that world, and then Akiva just tries to avoid that, and especially to avoid Jael getting guns because, well, bringing guns to a sword fight and all. I mean, that's basically what the problem here is.
Mm.
And Akiva's trying to prevent more Chimera, but also human lives to be lost, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question, Sasha, but
Yeah. But I just want to make sure that they knew about it, but they didn't know the way to get on the other side because the door were lost. But I was like, at one point, I was like, "What? He just remembered the doors?" Like I was completely lost. I didn't understand that. But
Mm.
you answered
yeah,
my
no.
question.
Akiva found the portal over Uzbekistan, and I suppose he told Joram that, and then Joram shared it with the rest of his army, is what I suppose,
Mm.
or something like that. I mean, but the portals were lost. Like they knew, like if there was a portal, how to get across, but they just didn't know where the portals were. So I think that was like the biggest problem.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
really curious to see what happens like with the angels being in the human world in the next book, because I mean, right now I think there was like a lot of panic, but I wonder how the Chimera are going to tackle that without like exposing themselves.
Yeah, it's like Karu said, like they'll see the angels, they'll see like symbol, like
Mm.
angels, literally. And if they see Chimera, they'll be like, yeah, those are monsters and like devil. So they can't really be like openly against the angels. It's the same thing that happened to Karu, like because she was against angels, she was deemed like a demonic, leader or whatever. Yeah,
Don't judge a
and
book
she was
by
the
its
queen,
cover.
so it would be worse. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually like really surprised like to find out how a corrupt Akiva's world was. And it's like just because like they are seen as the good guys does not mean that they're all good.
No. No, I really like that about the first book as well. Like, I'm not quite sure what exactly she said, but when Karu basically asked, like, yeah, but to us, you're not the saviors because you've been killing us.
Yeah.
So to us, you're not the good guys, even though you see yourself as the good guys and you see your reasons as justified, but like to us, you're not. And I love how we also got to see that, well, they really aren't that good of a guys.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think there was ever like good and bad. It's just like, as in like everyone thinks of themselves as righteous, but we're
Yeah.
never told like, oh, these are the good bad. Yeah, like, like for example, in things like Fellowship of the Ring, there's like good and then there's bad. But here it's more like they both think they're good, but they're both kind of bad in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's also like the quote on this one. It says like, mercy breeds mercy as slaughter breeds slaughter. We can't expect the world to be better than what we make it. And I think like, yeah, that's basically what these books are about. Like, if you never tell people or show people things can be different, things never are going to be different. And same with people. Like, if corruption has been the way to go for years, decades, centuries, I don't know, how can you really expect someone else to be better if they haven't been shown how to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like most of the corruption like those coming from like the leaders, like Thago, and then what was it, the Emperor, I think his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, like that it was the people like in power that were the cause of the evil, not the people that were serving them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, like, when you think about it, even the misbegotten, like, they're born and they're literally like told what their purpose is, what to think, and given a sword or whatever, and trained to kill. So, like, yeah, of course it's bad. And even Akiva, like, he was obviously like prejudiced before he met Karoo. But like, it kind of makes sense if you're fed the same lies over and over since you were like literally born, and you're told this is your only purpose in life. You literally can't have a family, can't leave, can't do anything you want to do. It's like you will be like that. So
And also on pain of death, like if he did do something different, that's it. I mean, that's the end of him or Liraz or Hazael or whoever does that or tries that.
yeah, it's definitely like he couldn't just all of a sudden be like, oh no, I love Chimera now, I'm gonna help them. Like he had to be sneaky about it, because if he wasn't, he'd just be murdered, and that'd be that. So he wouldn't be helping anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else? Are we slowly winding down?
Yeah, I think we are. I was curious, like especially for Kira and Sasha, like what are your predictions and expectations of the third book? Because I mean,
Honestly,
obviously,
nothing. I don't know. Honestly, don't know.
I think that there's going to be a bigger war, and I also think that Akiva and Karu are going to get back together. And part of me looks like something bad's going to happen after that, and the other part's just like it better not.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely think like these books are quite unpredictable in the sense that like when you finish a book, you don't really know where the next one's gonna go. I mean, I guess you kind of have an idea that they're gonna fight with their little chimera slash angel army they have, but like I'm sure there's gonna be so many twists and turns where we're like, what?
Yeah.
I just hope it's not going to be as dark as the second one, because honestly, that's what annoyed me. So I loved because it was realistic, but at the same time, two miserable characters and everything happening was just bad. And also like the bruises Karu had to do that in order to do what she needed to do. And then every bad guy in the story was like a rapist, etc, etc. Those all little details that really annoyed me and bored me. So I really expect like maybe some hope in the next one. And I'm not asking for more actions, but just like a different tone to the book, because this one was pretty dark.
Yeah, from what I remember, the third one is much more hopeful.
Mm,
I mean, I don't want to say like happy
not,
or that kind of stuff, but it definitely feels more hopeful. Like, you know, the characters are like, okay, well, maybe we can do this. You know, I think it definitely feels like, I think we've had the darkest part of the story. The third one definitely has some like darker bits, but it doesn't get as dark as this one, as far as I remember. I mean, obviously take it with a grain of salt because it has been a little while, but that's just from what I remember. And again, that also like reflects Karu's state of mind. She is more hopeful now.
True.
Yeah.
I want to see more of Susanna and Mick.
Yeah. Oh, I
They're
want to see
so
them get
cute.
married, or at least propose.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love at the end when he was like, "Will you make me a sandwich instead of you marry me?" I was like, "Good job." I love that.
That's a good one.
If you want
Yeah.
more Mick and Susanna, I recommend this one.
Night of Cake
Yeah,
and
that's
Puppets.
definitely happier.
Yeah, I think this is 2.5, like in the series. So this is set after. No, I think this is actually set before the first. No, before the second one. I'm not sure. If
From what I read, like in the notes, it said like it talks about how they met and stuff. So
yeah, I think this is what happens in the first one, like how they meet, like during the
yeah.
events of the first one. But this is really cute. This is like only Mick and Susanna, and it's just very wholesome, and not dark like Days of Blood and Starlight was.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Days of Blood and Starlight. I mean, just in the name.
Yeah.
I mean, dreams of gods and monsters. I mean, to a certain extent, it sounds more hopeful because it's like dreams and not nightmares or something.
Yeah. And gods and monsters. We're gonna see who are the gods, who are the true monsters in the last one.
Yeah.
Very
That
true.
is the question: are there true gods and are there true monsters? Though.
Depends on the person looking at.
Yeah.
Depends on what side you are on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's gonna be. I'm gonna start that book like in the next few days.
Yeah, it's a chunky one. I can't leave it as late as I left this one because it's not gonna
No,
happen.
I just finished it this morning.
Yeah,
Am I the only one who finished it a couple of days before?
Yeah, I finished yesterday, but I was like really scared because I was also like busy and like I had work and stuff, so I couldn't like sit down all day read. Even today I was busy, so I was like, oh my goodness, if I don't finish this,
Yeah.
it'll be embarrassing.
I really had a hard time reading it. Like,
Mm.
I
I
really
hope-
had to push it. I had to buy the audiobook. I bought like Audible first time trying it to have that audiobook because it wasn't available on script. And I was like 3.0, 2.8 speed. I was okay, listen now. And I had the book, so I was like reading it at the same time listening to it. But it was hard. I mean,
Okay. Well, I hope next one will be easier.
yeah, it's 640 pages, so I hope so.
Chunky.
Yeah. But the covers are gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, I literally got these and where is it? This one like today. It's like literally this afternoon and I'm so happy to have these now.
Where did you
Also-
get it from? Because I have
Look,
spread edges. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the Illumicrate editions.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah.
And then this is like
Yeah, they did them
the-
separately, right? They sold like the first one, and then at the end they sold the second and third
Yeah.
one together.
Yeah, they sold the first one in like a collections box with goodies and stuff, and then they sold the second and third one separately as like a bundle, like just these two, no goodies.
I wish there was another pin. I'm such a sucker for the pins.
Yeah. Yeah, I always love the pins.
A tooth pin. That would be.
That would be awesome.
Like, what did they do? I'm not sure.
A blue.
I think the pin was like the wishbone and a thurible. I'm not sure. We did get a replica, like thurible, in the box.
Yes.
Yep.
And it says like I'm not sure you'll be able to read this, but
Karu.
Yeah.
that's cute.
So going back on my shelf.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
my pins
talking about
are over
Karuk.
there.
Did you know, like, I mean, you two knew where she would stand, like, if she wanna stay in the human world or on the other side, because she had to pick, right? When Akiva told her,
Mhm.
you're gonna close the
Yeah.
doors.
Well, they're not closing them anymore, are they? Because they already came through. So in the end, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of forgot. But I figured, like, she says she's coming out hard, so makes sense.
Yeah.
I was so sad. I was like, what about Susanna and Nick?
Yeah.
You're not even gonna say goodbye. But then they showed
Yeah,
up. So
but
it's
at least they're safe so far.
fine. Yeah. Well, now they're hanging out with everyone, so hopefully they'll be protected.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we also get some scenes set in Belgium in the third book. So it's fun for you, Sasha.
I'm gonna try to picture those places. Do they name the places or?
I think it's in Brussels, but I'm not entirely sure. That is I'm pretty sure it's Belgium. But I think it's Brussels.
Okay.
It's
I'm gonna keep
it's
my
not a
eyes.
lot of scenes. It's just a couple of scenes, but
Even that's a lot. You never talk about Belgium and Brussels. It's
well,
Paris, it's London, it's
yeah.
Prague,
Exactly.
never Belgium. So yeah.
Like for that much, I was so happy that Six of Crows was set in like Rotterdam, and that's just, I mean, basically Amsterdam. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably as close as we're gonna get, so I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
I also loved in the show, like when they pronounce like these typically Dutch names. I was like, that's not how you pronounce it, though. But I mean, it's fine.
Oh, in Shadow and Bone?
Yeah, in the series, they had like a couple of things. It's like Tante Helene, and I'm not sure they're like Tant Helene or something. I'm not even sure what they do, but it's like that's not how you pronounce it. But it's fine. But yeah.
All right.
It's fiction. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I guess
So,
we're done talking about this particular book.
yep. Any final thoughts or anything?
I'm still sad about Hazael. That's like my final thought every time I read this book. Like, why? Why Hazael? Like, out of all the characters, why Hazael?
It was
Yeah.
To be
really
honest, I
sad.
would have been very heartbroken if it was Mick or Susanna instead. That wouldn't have been cool either. But
No.
Yeah. I love the chicken scene. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
the shadows that live impersonating a chicken.
Mhm.
Because
that was
she's
fun.
Susanna thought it was rats, right? And so he was like, no, it's
No,
chicken.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
think
No, that was cute because as you said, like the language is not always a barrier. Like it doesn't always stop you from communicating. And seeing
no,
those two from two different worlds talking about a chicken. I loved it.
yeah, like a
Yeah.
chicken out of all things.
Yeah, I love those like moments of like this with the darkness. It was really fun to have a break sometimes and just like chill with a chicken, have a laugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, well then I guess we will see everyone halfway through next month with the sprints, which we will let you guys
We'll
know
need to get
when.
through the book.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah.
Thank you guys, whoever
Thank
tuned
you.
in. We really appreciate it. We'll see you guys during the reading sprints and then towards the end of next month for our discussion on the final book.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.